Get ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey, man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann, and this is episode number 57 of the show. And off top, man, I'm just sitting here wondering, just
who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
Like, straight up, man. Like, who are these niggas, man? Who are these niggas for real? But of course, before we get started with everything, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get played here live on the show, responded to a kind. And if you're watching us here live on YouTube and or Facebook, man, go ahead and hit up that hotline, man, and chop it up with your man Spann tonight, man. We getting shit off our chest tonight. So, yeah, man, hit up the hotline, area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and, of course, those emails will get read here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on both Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, man. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube, man, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the videos, man, comment on the videos. Of course, those comments will also be included in the listener feedback, man. We appreciate everybody who does that. That helps us grow over there on YouTube, but also it helps you be a part of the conversation, man. So we really appreciate everybody who does that and kind of helps keep this thing going. Also, if you want, man, go to our store, our TeePublic store, teepublic.com/the Spann Report, and get yourself some merch, man. Cop yourself a t-shirt, cop yourself a hoodie or a coffee mug or something like that, man. We got mouse pads, the whole nine. We got stickers and everything over there, man. So if you want to support the show monetarily, you could definitely do that over at our TeePublic store, teepublic.com/the Spann Report, okay? But yeah, man, it's fuck, bro. Like, just nigga. Yeah, shit didn't go the way I certainly thought and hoped that it would go, right? Certainly didn't go and whatnot the way I thought it would go. And many of us are kind of shell-shocked by the fact that not only did Donald Trump win, but Donald Trump won the fucking popular vote, bro. Like,
oh man, hey.
Now, one of the things that I do know is that when we start going over into like the breakdowns of who voted for who and everything else, one thing is for certain is that less people voted this year, right? Less people voted. I think Donald Trump, it's not, what the fuck am I doing? I could just pull the damn stuff up, but yeah, let me take this down. I was going to start with that, but nah, fuck it. I was going to start with Martin Luther King and shit, but nah, man, we're not going to drag Dr. King into this. Dr. King done already told us, man, that like
a lot of white folk have demonstrated eloquently that they don't have no sense.
He told us that, but there was a lot of people outside of the white folks that also have demonstrated that they ain't got no fucking sense either. Okay, so we got that going on. We ain't gonna bring Dr. King further into this, man. We just not gonna do that. But nah, man, there's so many different communities with which Donald Trump apparently resonated with, despite his divisive rhetoric, despite how he talked about some of those very fucking communities. Just here in Dearborn, Michigan, man, Donald Trump won the Muslim and Arab vote in Dearborn, Michigan. Like, he actually, like, he won Dearborn, Michigan. Like, And that goes, that speaks to the level of pain, I guess you could say, that a lot of folks in the Arab community and the Muslim community were feeling about the war in Gaza with Israel and everything. One of the things that I've really been trying to wrap my head around is, as much as Kamala Harris being the vice president to Joe Biden, as much as they try to tie her to Biden, because she wouldn't necessarily disavow Biden, right? Like there was this thing that I really wish people understood, and that is she's the vice president, not the president, and going out and trashing her boss in the midst of a presidential campaign, while also trying to take credit for some of the wins of his presidential administration, there was a fine line for her to walk. And I thought people were being a bit unreasonable in saying that, well, she's been there 4 years, why hasn't she done anything? Like, totally misunderstanding the role of the fucking vice president. And I felt like, they didn't give her an opportunity to forge her own path and to and see how a Harris administration could differ from a Biden administration. And so yeah, man, it's because we talked about this months ago during the primaries here in Michigan, where there was the uncommitted vote during the primaries, and I understood that in the primaries, because it's like, listen, you want to put these people on notice that you want your voices heard, right? I understand a protest vote when you're in a primary. I get it. I totally get it. I don't understand the protest vote during the general when that the alternative isn't better for you. In fact, it could be very much worse, right? Can be very much worse. We got a comment here. Games and Drinks says, how he win in Dearborn. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and pull this. Let's go ahead and let me pull that up now. Cause he won in fucking Dearborn, man. So let me go ahead and pull this up. I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I do that. All right, here we go. Check this out, y'all.
But we begin tonight with America's path forward after last night's presidential election. Thank you so much for joining us for 7 News Detroit at 6. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. Just a short time ago, Vice President Kamala Harris addressed the nation from the White House, where she said that she congratulated President-elect Trump and delivered a message of hope to her supporters.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
You can see how the presidential race played out here in Michigan, flipping our state from blue to red since the 2020 election. You see the razor-thin margins there.
Now, Dearborn was one of the major Michigan cities claimed by Trump. We've been covering the abandoned Biden-Harris campaigns for months, and you can see the impact that it had on vote totals. With Jill Stein.
Okay, so in these vote totals, they're showing. Hold on, let me take that little thing now. But they're showing Trump won in Dearborn. He took 42% of the vote in Dearborn. For the folks who are going to listen to this later, Trump took 42% of the vote in Dearborn. Kamala Harris got 36% of the vote in Dearborn, and Jill Stein, she got 18.3% of the fucking vote, man.
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
And one of the things that really irks me about Jill Stein and the Green Party has always been the people who are. Jill Stein is a grifter, and she's always been a grifter. Jill Stein pops up every 4 years. She's like them goddamn cicadas, man. Jill Stein pops up every few years, makes a lot of noise, and then disappears again. Right? I'm still looking for them fucking what does she ever do about the what does she ever do about the with the money that she raised for the recalls. I'm sorry, but the recounts back in 2016. Has anybody ever found out what she ever did with that fucking money, man? Has anybody like kind of called her out on that at all in a real meaningful way? Because we still ain't got anything from that, right? But Jill Stein shows up. The Green Party shows up. As a matter of fact, it's so bad with the Green Party in the United States that many of the Green parties around the world were disassociating themselves from this particular chapter of the Green Party because like, man, what the fuck are y'all doing over there, right? And you know, like I said, when it comes to a third party, like I'm not opposed to a third party at all, but what I do want that third party to do is to actually put in the work on a groundwork on a ground level, bro. Hey, stop showing up every 4 years for the presidency and start showing up for these goddamn city council positions. Start showing up for some of these damn school board positions. Start showing up for some of these mayoral races. Start showing up for some of these state legislature positions, state senatorial positions. You know, and build your coalition in that way so that when you do start running for some of these larger federal type offices, now you have a ground, you have an infrastructure to work with. You have a coalition of people to work with to advance your agenda, right? And this is like, when it comes to people like Jill Stein, man, like I listened to that interview that she did on the Breakfast Club. I listened to an interview that she did with Mehdi Hassan. And it's like, people like her think that she could just executive order her way through an entire fucking presidency. And it's not going to work that way. You got to work with the legislature. And if the legislature ain't fucking with you, guess what? You ain't getting a goddamn thing done. You're not getting a damn thing done. And so when she does come out and she offers an alternative, because people will feel like, man, I don't know, man. They're one issue voters, bro. Like, I wish I had the luxury. As a black man in America, I wish I had the luxury of being a one issue voter, right? But as a conscientious black man, I can't be a one issue voter. I got black women in my family that I love and will do anything to protect. So when this particular president appoints Supreme Court justices that takes rights away from not just my wife, but my daughter, my cousins, my aunts, my nieces. Like, I got a problem with that. And so even when I go to the voting booth, I'm not voting just for myself. I'm voting for them too. I'm voting for people. I mean, like, the issue may not necessarily affect me directly. I'm not of the LGBTQ community, but I do care that they have equal rights as everybody else. And we've just elected, America has just elected a person with whom they are openly attacking all of that. All of it. And folks are acting as though, you know, we should have seen this shit coming. Right. And we're going to talk about why they think we should have seen this shit coming. But I'm going to let this video play out before I move on. Let me do this here.
And taking more than 18% of the vote in Dearborn.
7 News Detroit reporter Tiara Braddock spoke to the founders of the Uncommitted National Movement as they shared their thoughts about the election results.
While they are two different groups, the main goal of the Uncommitted National Movement and the Abandon Harris campaign is to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. The two groups made sure their voices were heard during this election.
The only group that mobile.
Okay, and I'm sorry I keep stopping this, but the other part about this that I want people to kind of take heed to is that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, fuck Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu was pining for a Trump administration, right? Because Benjamin Netanyahu understood that, like, he wouldn't necessarily have the type of reins brought in on him that Biden was trying to put in on him, right? So although these folks were upset with Joe Biden because he didn't pull in all of the weapons and and you know, call for a ceasefire. Although I think Biden did, you know, he did call for a ceasefire, but he didn't stop when it came to like allowing or arming Israel. Right? He didn't stop, and so I can real talk. Legitimately, I can legitimately understand being upset about that. The alternative is a motherfucker who ain't gonna have any kind of qualms whatsoever about what Benjamin Netanyahu does to your people over there. That's what so that was like the calculus or the political calculus that I don't know. I'm really trying to understand with the folks in Dearborn, Michigan, who this is the hill they wanted to die on, or better yet, this is the hill they wanted their people over there to die on.
Mobilized 101,000 voters to show up.
Imagine, I'm sorry. Imagine you being upset, and rightfully so, with what's going on and the harm that's coming to your people, and then voting in a way that will allow more of that to come their way and feel good about it. Imagine that. Because I'm trying to understand, but logically, it's just not it's not hitting here for me. It's not hitting in the head for me, man. I'm not getting it.
Up to the ballot box and raise their hand and say, I need you to inspire me, was this group called the Listen to Michigan campaign, the Uncommitted National Movement. And we came out of that experience and made an offer to the vice president's campaign.
Abbas Alawi is the co-founder of the Uncommitted National Movement. The movement called for Michigan voters to vote uncommitted in the presidential primary election back in January. The goal being to put pressure on President Biden to put an end to the war in Gaza, which started back in October of 2023.
The entirety of our organizing anti-war voters, we heard from Democratic Party leaders say, hey, we sympathize with you, but it's got to wait until after the election. As if our families' lives were something that could just be put on hold.
Alawi says Democratic leaders did not listen to Arab or Muslim voters, and he feels that helped President-elect Donald Trump win.
In Dearborn, Michigan, Donald Trump has won the majority of votes. This was entirely avoidable. Another
group that was born out of the call to end the war is the Abandon Harris campaign. It was originally the Abandon Biden campaign before President Biden dropped out of the race. That group called for voters to vote for Green Party candidate Dr. Jill Stein.
We're here,
the grifter in chief,
to support this community whose courage, whose moral conviction has really changed the dialogue, has really inspired and empowered Americans.
I sat down and spoke with Dr. Stein as she held her watch party in Dearborn on Election Day. She won 0.8% of votes in Michigan and 22% of votes in Dearborn.
It feels like we have won in terms of really launching.
Because let's also make it clear. She says it feels like we have won because her entire presidential run was to be a thorn in the Harris campaign. That was her entire thing. She knew she had a snowball's chance in hell of winning. But if she could siphon enough votes from Kamala Harris, then that was a good thing for them. They were like, if you watched any of the campaign stops they would make, or any of the if you watch any of the interviews that Jill Stein and her vice presidential dude that was with her or whatever the fuck his name was, if you watched any of them, they had all the smoke for the Democratic Party, none for the Republican Party. It was all for the Democratic Party, right? And so when you understand that these people are not good actors, like you looking at them like, man, y'all are taking advantage of they are taking advantage of a hurting people. And again, we're not going to hear from Jill Stein for another 4 years. Mark my motherfucking words. We are not going to hear from her again. She about to poof, like just straight up dis-a-fucking-peer. She probably show up in 2028. Right? In 2028, she'll probably show up only to be a thorn in the side of Democrats. I'm telling you. Mark my words. You heard it here first, goddammit. But this is why she thinks it's a win for her.
A movement really gaining incredible, unstoppable momentum.
I also spoke to political expert Aaron Call, who says this election shows just how significant the Arab Muslim vote is.
And ultimately, it's going to be up for Donald Trump to deliver. I know that in some ways, I think some of the votes was kind of like a protest vote, just showing that the status quo is not working.
In Dearborn, Tierra Braddock, 7 News Detroit.
All right.
Yeah, so, yeah. In Dearborn, Michigan, they voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. Now, the other part that doesn't make sense about this for me is that I remember shit like this, bro. Like, hold on, let me pull this up. But I remember shit like this, man.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
I remember that, man. And so when you see he wins, he actually won in Dearborn, Michigan, it's like one of those things where people have a very fucking short memory. We have very short memories now. Like, that wasn't that long ago. That was in, 2017? So about 7 years ago? He was president then when that shit happened. Right? And I remember the protests that were happening at the airports all across the nation, man, especially here in Detroit. Out at the Detroit Metro Airport out in Romulus, there was a whole bunch of people out there protesting. Those very same people supported this motherfucker this time. That's why it's hard for me, like, it's hard to make sense of it, to me. Hard to make sense of it. Now, the other part, like I said, man, like, a lot of folks stayed home, unfortunately. A lot of folks stayed home. Joe Biden won with 81 million votes, man. 81 million votes is what Joe Biden got when he won presidency, president of the United States. But let me go ahead and pull up these exit polls. But no, I do not want to do that. They keep asking me to turn off my... No. I don't want to allow no ads. Fuck. Leave me alone with the ads. Fucking ads, bro. Okay, let's do this another way. Let me see if I can pull it up over here. Let me do this. You do this right here. 2024. Okay, here we go. All right, I'll pull up this one because this motherfucker here tripping. This motherfucker here tripping. But let me move this over here so I can see exactly what the hell I'm doing. All right. So, whoops. Okay, here we go. Pull this up so you guys can see. But yeah, Donald Trump won with 72 million votes this time. Okay, 72 million votes. That's around the same amount of votes that he got the last time when he lost the presidency. Okay, let me highlight this one. Let me pull that up so you guys can see. But yeah, he lost with the same amount of votes just last year. He had 72 million votes this year. Kamala Harris got 67 million votes. So she underperformed Joe Biden by about 13 million votes. A lot of folks stayed home, man. This is how we end up with the results that we got. Now, there's a lot of people who stayed home, and there were also, some machinations by the Republican Party that were purging folks from the rolls, that were closing polling places, that were they had a concerted effort to challenge people whether or not they should be able to vote or not. So there was an entire apparatus to keep, to try to keep voting totals down. right? And one of the things I've always told people, man, is like, yo, like, you got to wonder about a party who wants less people to have access to the ballot, man. If they didn't want you to vote, man, there's a reason why. If they didn't want you to have access to the ballot, there's a reason why. Right? And so to watch so many people just like totally abstain, like, man, like straight up, I was up last night till about 4:00 in the morning, man. I was drinking last night. I was being so irrational last night, man. I was loading up all my guns and shit. Like, these people about to be out here acting crazy. And then I'm like, nah, nigga, go to bed. Go to fucking bed. But nah, man, like when I saw that after this motherfucker has been indicted 4 times with over 80 charges, a couple of those indictments are about to go away. So, as a matter of fact, too, I don't know if y'all know this. Yeah, breaking news. A couple of those goddamn indictments are going away. That whole thing with Jack Smith and the special investigator, man, that shit's about to go away. So the January 6th shit where he led a fucking a riot on the Capitol, they about to get rid of that shit. And also the shit where he stole documents and took that shit to the crib and had it saved up at his, like he had them posted up in his bathroom or whatever else, that shit's about to go away. The only thing that can really hurt him might be the case in Atlanta. Might be the case in Atlanta where he could possibly face jail time for that. But guess what? That shit ain't gonna happen until after, possibly, maybe, if he goes to jail behind that after he's no longer president. Now, if this isn't the greatest fucking evidence of the whitest of white privilege, nigga, I don't know what the fuck is. Because we've listened to this motherfucker brag about sexually assaulting women. He's been civilly liable for sexually assaulting a woman. He owes that woman hundreds of millions of dollars. He owes the state of New York hundreds of millions of dollars for the hush money case that he had up there. He's got other co-conspirators who've already been indicted on the election interference shit and the January 6th stuff. That's probably about to go away now. Everybody who went up into that goddamn Capitol and ransacked that bitch, carrying Confederate flags and everything else, they probably gonna get pardoned. He might even come through on that for them. He could have did that shit when he was president the last time, but nah, it's like we totally fucking forgot all the shit that comes with this motherfucker, man. Flabbergasted, like fucking flabbergasted, man. And he won the popular vote this time. So what that tells me is that it wasn't just the white folks who were voting for this, because we knew they were gonna do that. We knew that. I had no illusions in my motherfucking brain that like, yo, white folk going white folk. But some of you other motherfuckers shocked me. I ain't gonna lie. Some of the folks in the Hispanic community shocked me. The Muslim community shocked me. And I guess that comes from like, you know, having I guess I feel shocked in the sense that like, yo, when I saw that these people were being mistreated, I acted and advocated on those folks' behalf because I didn't want those people being mistreated, because as a black person in America, I know what that means. Right? We know what that means. But for a lot of these other groups, it's as if proximity to whiteness kind of helps them forget that they not white, and that some of these things could be coming down on them. The other part about it is this: there's a large contingent of folk within minority communities, who I believe don't believe Donald Trump means the shit that he says. And then there's also amongst that group, there's a bunch of people within those groups, whether they be Black, Latino, Arab, Muslim, who believe that all of this shit that he's talking about, when he's talking about that, he's not necessarily talking about them. When
that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
So, yeah, we got that. But here's the other. Okay, so here we go with the exit polls. And so one of the things about these exit polls, right, is that one thing's for sure, man. Black men were not the reason why Donald Trump won this fucking presidency, man.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
However, we need to talk about some of the brothers who did. And the reason why I say that is because I've watched my timelines on Facebook. I watched my timelines on Threads, and I've watched sisters talk about their disappointment, some of their hurt that some of the men in their families are now coming out openly saying that they did vote for Donald Trump, so that they hope that Donald Trump won. And the betrayal that these sisters felt by listening to the men in their families say that this is what they were advocating for, or say that this is what they were hoping would happen. And one of the things I've kind of pushed back on during this election cycle is the idea, because like I know a lot of brothers tend to feel as though they have to defend. A lot of brothers feel as though they have to defend whether or not they are the blame for Trump being, president of these United States now, right? A lot of brothers coming out, see, it wasn't us, y'all, but we gonna take the blame, this, that, and other. Y'all gonna make it about us, and this, that, and other. It's like, no. Understand. Overwhelmingly, a lot of brothers did the right thing. But that does not absolve the brothers within our community who didn't. And I am not in league with them niggas. A lot of us aren't. And I ain't about to give them cover either. So as if it doesn't apply, let it fly type nigga. When you hear women talking about, hey, men ain't shit or whatever, and yeah, you could feel a way about it, but like, does that really apply to you? Are you doing all of the things that would have a woman say that you ain't shit? Then if not, hey man, she might not necessarily be talking about you. Move along, nigga. It ain't about you. So I am not about to be out here catching strays for niggas who also were out here advocating for a program that would subjugate women as second-class citizens in this nation, especially black women who bear the brunt of a lot of shit in this nation. So if these women are telling you about their experiences with the men in their lives, and they happen to be brothers, how dare you come up to these sisters and say, but shit, why we got to take the blame? Black men voted for Kamala 77%. Meanwhile, 91% of sisters was out here voting on behalf of Kamala Harris. 91%. We couldn't even break 80. Right? So I'm not in league with the motherfuckers who are voting as a black man in America. I'm not in league with the motherfuckers who are voting for Donald Trump as a black man. And I'm not giving them any motherfucking cover either. Fuck them niggas. Bottom line, fuck them niggas. Like low key is fuck anybody who voted for Donald Trump. That's really where my energy is at. All of y'all can kiss the bottom of my ass, bro. Y'all can lick me from the tank to the, listen, It's when I see black men online belittling the concerns of sisters online, it pisses me off. Because I know it's coming from a place of you want to defend yourself. But if it doesn't apply to you, then damn it, move around. You ain't got to catch that stray. Let that shit hit the motherfucker it's supposed to. Right? 77% of black men voted for Kamala Harris. That means that a good, almost 20 some odd percent voted for Donald Trump. 23%. The fuck? Really? The fuck? I know some of these niggas. Like I like the only reason I didn't see these niggas gloating is because I've been removing these niggas from my life, bro. I think some of my friends or people that used to be my friends thought I was bullshitting when I said I do not have friends who are Trump supporters. And if you are a Trump supporter, we are not friends. And I was removing them niggas and I meant that shit. Too many of us make it comfortable for niggas to be ignorant. And I am not the nigga to be ignorant around. I don't make it comfortable for ignorant niggas. Fuck them niggas. Fuck them. And everything they about. So, yeah. Black men ain't to blame. But if you are one of them niggas, fuck you. Sincerely. From the bottom of my heart. Fuck you. And stop telling people who ain't to blame. Because everybody who voted for this shit is to blame. And also, some of you motherfuckers who, some of you people who decided to stay home, y'all have some culpability in this shit too. Because a choice to not vote is also a choice. And the choice to not vote, especially in a time when they are trying to take your vote away from you, and you just opt to not do it, helps the people who never wanted you to fucking vote in the first goddamn place. So fuck you too. Fuck you, man. Whew. So, yeah, man. Yeah. Black men are not to blame. But to you niggas who are, fuck your very existence, nigga. I hope y'all get all the goddamn consequences about that comes with this, right? And I hope that the women around you hold you accountable. I think about, especially like with say for instance, like shit like Project 2025 and stuff like that, where let me do this here. But like shit like Project 2025, where what was that? There were so many people, and I listened to niggas. I had an ex-friend tell me, well, Donald Trump said that wasn't even his shit. He ain't got nothing to do with that. And I'm like, bro, everybody who, like, over 100 people who worked for him in that first goddamn administration were part of that Project 2025 shit. Everybody he appointed to the Supreme Court, those people were suggested to him by the was it, if not the Heritage Foundation, I think it was the Heritage Foundation, or it was the Heritage. It was another like conservative outfit. He got a list of names from them. So the act as though that had nothing to do, he ain't gonna have nothing to do with that. Come on, man. What, like, I got a bridge to sell you if you believe in that shit. Got a bridge to sell you. Stimmies ain't coming back under Donald Trump. That day is dead, dog. They ain't coming back. They not giving money away for you niggas to just like, yo, I need some bread. Nah, man. That day is dead. The stimmies are gone. That was a once in a lifetime thing that happened. We had a pan-fucking-demic. a pandemic. Millions of people died. Did we forget that? A lot of us forgot that. Millions of people died, bro. Some of us couldn't even have real funerals for our loved ones because of his mishandling of that shit. Couldn't do it. The reason why prices were low for gas is because nobody was fucking driving, because we were all in the house, bro. You talking about inflation and the cost of shit being so high. Guess how much those stimulus checks it contributed to the price of fucking inflation? Why are you looking for another fucking stimmy? Every day. Like, I'm looking and I'm listening to niggas like, man, what the fuck are y'all talking about? How did y'all forget this shit? Jobs is abundant out in this motherfucker, bro. Like, the unemployment rate lower than it's been in 50 fucking years, man. Niggas 401ks done went up. For those of you who have them, done went up. Stock market been like blowing the fuck up. If you into trading, nigga, you making bread. But for whatever reason, they've convinced even some of the marginalized folk that even convincing the marginalized people that, hey man, shit wasn't all that bad. Niggas got short memories, man. Got a couple comments here in the chat. My man Horatio says, let it out, Spann. Hey man, that's what tonight is about. That's really what tonight is about, man. I gotta let go of all of this. I gotta let all of this shit, all of the frustration, everything I was thinking about last night, everything that like I've been watching and observing, letting it go tonight. And this isn't just for me, right? So for anybody who's watching me right now, if you got some shit you want to let go, nigga, the lines are open. Straight up, let it out. Let motherfuckers know how you feeling, bro. Cause like holding it in isn't healthy. And this is one of my outlets. This is, I remember when I was like really in the throes of some shit. And my therapist was telling me to like get back on the mic, and I was telling them like, nah, I'm not ready for that. And I know when I'm ready to get back on the mic. And like even today, I was like, should I do it? And I said, nah, nigga, you gotta do it. You gotta do it as a form of self-care. Get this shit off. Get this shit off. We got another comment here. Games and Drinks says half of them talk shit, didn't even vote. This is the other part. Some of them didn't. And this is where the catch-22 of the entire voting thing comes into play, right? So hopefully some of them niggas didn't, especially if they were talking about voting for Trump. You want people to vote. You want more people to vote. Because oftentimes, when it comes to the Republican Party, many of their platform, the policy platforms and everything else is pretty much unpopular with the vast majority of the American people. He won the popular vote this time, but the reason why he won the popular vote is because less people voted. And so because now he's won the popular vote, something he never did. He didn't win the popular vote against Hillary Clinton. He didn't win the popular vote against Joe Biden. So he never had a mandate. He's coming in now where he's going to have control of the Senate. He's going to have control of, he may have control of the House. I'm not sure if they've kind of, let's see, I got the shit right here, Spann. What the fuck? I can pull that up right now. So as it stands right now, Republicans have 208 seats. They flipped 6 seats, so they've gained 4. And Democrats have 187 seats. In order to have control of the House of Representatives, they need 218 seats. So Republicans right now, they need 10 more seats in order to control the House of Representatives. They've already gotten the Senate. So if Donald Trump wins the House, like he wins the presidency, and then he's already gotten the Senate, which means he can appoint any motherfucking judge he wants without fucking obstruction at all, because Democrats ain't gonna be able to stop that. So think about this for a second. Justices Thomas and Alito, they're gonna probably retire pretty soon, because now they are assured that Donald Trump being president, there's going to be another far right justice to put him in their place, right? So Donald Trump will have pretty much appointed 5 of the 8. Wait, I'm sorry. Is it 5? Let's see. 5 of the 9. He will have appointed 5 of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court. 5. This is the same Supreme Court that just took women's right to their bodily autonomy away. And they're not stopping there. Clarence Thomas has already talked about taking the right to birth control away. That they need to, maybe we should revisit that case. Same-sex marriage could also be back up for Supreme Court reconsideration, right? They're going to be and this is how it's going to happen. There's going to be a state that tries to violate someone's civil right on same-sex marriage, knowing that it's going to go up to a Supreme Court that's favorable to their idea of what marriage should be. So now you're taking rights away from another group of people. Like, this is what they've been, this is the long game, bro. They've been playing a long game for a long time. And in the middle of that, they've also convinced minority groups to vote against their own fucking interest. It's been wild to observe and watch people who I thought were smart show themselves not so much to be. Not so much to be. Where they've convinced people, and the Republican Party has been good at this for a long time, convincing people to vote against their own private interests and shit. Why would you want? I saw this clip earlier today on Threads where there was this young lady who said she voted for Trump, a young white lady, says she voted for Trump because she didn't believe, I like that he didn't have a plan for a national abortion ban. He just sent it back to the states. Right? Now think about that for a second. So you have rights in certain states and you don't have rights in other ones. So if we're doing it state by state, what's to stop a state? So somewhere in the South, like Mississippi, that has entrenched itself as a Republican stronghold, suddenly deciding, well, shit, man, we doing this shit state by state now, and it's states' rights. States' rights. Hey, niggas, get back in the back of the bus again. That whole 1964 civil rights bill, yeah. We're going to challenge that in the Supreme Court. We're going to challenge that. These public accommodations where y'all get to be up here in the front with the lunch counters and stuff like that. I mean, we ain't doing lunch counters no more, but y'all got to come in the back. We ain't serving you niggas in the front no more. And they know it's going to go to the Supreme Court. A Supreme Court that is friendly to how they want to do things. A national abortion ban could be another one of those things. As a matter of fact, hold on, my man Games and Drinks says another thing. He says he has the power to petition the Supreme Court to make a national abortion ban. Like, here's the thing that I think a lot of folks just really don't understand is that Donald Trump is a fucking liar, bro. He is a fucking liar. Right? So the whole thing about, hey, he didn't really mean that. You guys are really blowing this stuff out of proportion. He's been telling us what he wants to do for the longest time. Even the shit. So here's the other part. There's this thing where people think that because we lived through a Donald Trump presidency before, then like another Donald Trump presidency won't be as bad. And what they don't realize is that the reason why some of the shit that Donald Trump did, there was shit that Donald Trump wanted to do, but he couldn't do because there were people within his administration that were like, nah, bro, you can't really do that. That's illegal. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got rules against that. Like, I know you want to do it. You know, we might try to figure out a way to do it. They were really just trying to put this nigga off. Like, hey, this nigga tripping. But no, those people will not be there anymore. Those folks ain't gonna be there. The people who wanted to pull, like, who wanted to, like, who did shit on behalf of the public good and understood that this shit that Donald Trump wanted to do was some bullshit. Those folks, despite how much I would have, like, you know, politically not been aligned with them, those folks ain't there no more. His entire cabinet from his first administration, none of them motherfuckers were supporting him except maybe one or two. None of their asses is supporting him now. And he won the presidency again. People don't believe fat mean greasy. Straight up. They don't believe a pussy's pussy, a pork's pussy is pork. A pig's pussy is pork. I fucked that up. They don't believe. Like, it's like, yo, everybody that was around this nigga was like, yeah, man, this nigga's on some other shit, man. Y'all might want to, And we decide we gonna do this again? Bruh. Whew. Let me take a swig, man, because this has been like I was the other part about this is that's kind of crazy too is y'all notice how quick they accepted those election results? So I guess it ain't rigged this time, huh? So I guess it ain't rigged this time. They pitched a bitch the last time, so much so that they took their asses up to the Capitol and stormed that bitch. Broke windows, assaulted police officers. And somehow, some way, they've allowed Donald Trump to become president again. A dude with felony charges, a convicted felon. It's going to be interesting to see now. Because I know some brothers, not brothers, but like I know some people who are convicted felons who are offended by the fact that like, yo, man, y'all keep talking all this shit about felons, man. You know, well, I'm not defined by my mistakes. You know, those type of niggas, right? And like, listen, man, we're not talking about you. We're talking about the hypocrisy of the same people who would deny you an opportunity to get a job to better your life. Right? These are the same people who would tell you, man, I don't know, we're not taking a chance there, you know, but good luck to you. Right? Meanwhile, Donald Trump commits crimes in front of everybody. Everybody saw it. And somehow, some way, over 70 million people decided that that's what they wanted to be president of the United States. So I would hope that like the whole thing about you being a felon is actually taking off applications altogether. Because if you could be president of the goddamn United States as a fucking convicted felon, then well, I'll be goddamn. Why can't the rest of you niggas go ahead and apply for jobs as anything you ever wanted to be? But is it gonna work that way for you? Is it going to work that way? That's the thing. Another thing too, you know, misinformation and disinformation works, man. It does. That's one thing that I've learned over the course of these last 9-10 years since Donald Trump has been on the political scene is that misinformation and disinformation surely fucking works because there are so many people who believe shit just because they saw it somewhere on social media and they don't do any other fucking searching or verification other than the fact that they saw it on social media. I remember I was having a conversation with a guy at work, man, and he was talking about us being in a recession. And I had to ask him, I said, hey, bro, where'd you get that from? And he said, that's what it said on online. I said, where exactly did you find that online that we were in a recession? And so now I'm piquing his, because now he want to prove me wrong. Because I'm telling him, at the time, I'm like, yo, we are not in a recession. Now he wants to prove your man Spann wrong. So now he goes in his phone and he's looking for, we're in a recession, and he can't find it because we weren't. It was just some shit that somebody said on social media. He couldn't find anything anywhere where it said we were actually in a recession, because we were not. And because we are, there's so many people who don't just want to so many people even now that will admit to you, I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspapers. All that shit is just bad news. I don't care about none of that shit. I'm going to tell y'all this right now. An uninformed populace is a compliant populace. And that's what allows for shit like this to happen. When you don't know what the fuck is going on, people can pull all kinds of wool over your eyes. Right? But it also, one of the things that it made me think of when I saw this on TikTok earlier today. And
y'all want to know why?
Yeah, I'm going to pull this up so you guys can watch along with me. But unfortunately, like, I saw someone posted this like truth, and it's just proof of the amount of misinformation and disinformation that was going out to affect the votes, right? So I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I pull this up here, and let's watch and see what this sister here is talking about. Check this out, y'all.
Why she lost? I'm gonna tell you why she lost. The Democratic Party literally had the worst marketing strategy in history. Like, I saw this loss coming like a mile away. He's racist, he's racist, he's racist. Your candidate is a woman. This country's far more sexist than racist. Far more.
On this point, I will say she's right. Because, like, it's not just white dudes who are racist, but there are black dudes who are racist. There are Arab men who are, misogynist, Latino men who are misogynist. Whole lot of misogyny out here in the world, bro. So she's not wrong there. She's right there.
Far more. So there's that group of people that are just automatically going to vote the other way. Then you lost the plot completely with black people. I haven't seen pandering this tacky since Hillary Clinton pulled that hot sauce out of her bag.
Okay, so here's the other thing about pandering, right? Pandering. I don't think you people who complain about pandering actually understand what the job of a politician is. But when you want someone to cater to your community, you're asking them to pander to you, right? You're asking them, hey, what are you going to do for my community? As a matter of fact, I saw a whole bunch of niggas come out and say, but what's she going to do what about black men? What's she gonna do for black men? Then she comes out with a whole policy, a whole policy platform for black men, 9 fucking pages. And them same niggas like, man, see, she don't really mean that shit. She don't really mean that shit, man. She pandering. No, nigga, you asked her what her plan was for you, and she told you what that plan was. Right? That's not pandering. That is addressing constituent concerns. That's what the job of a fucking politician is. I need y'all to learn what the fuck it is politicians do and what your government is supposed to do. And if they are addressing your issues, you are accusing them of pandering to you when they're actually just addressing the shit you want them to address. Like, what? Come the fuck on. Come the fuck on.
You had Joe Biden on his first campaign talking about if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Who the fuck? Kamala done turned her freaking rallies into the BET Awards. You got Meg Thee Stallion twerking on stage, Glorilla on stage bleeping out every other word of her.
Okay, so here we go with the respectability politics. Are we to now act as though people are not fans of Megan Thee Stallion, and that Megan Thee Stallion being a surrogate for Kamala Harris is somehow a bad thing simply because she twerks? Or the same thing with Glorilla. Like, there's a constituency of people there. You don't want that constituency of people to be represented in the government? You're embarrassed because of who they represent and how they present. That's that respectability politics shit. And a lot of black folks buy into that shit. A lot of black folks buy into that respectability shit.
First off, because she can't even rap her actual lyrics, then completely lost the plot with women. You got penises swinging around kids' locker rooms and women's locker rooms. People who
ask this girl if she knows of any penises just swinging around girls' locker rooms. Don't worry, I'll fucking wait. Don't worry, I'll wait, because I can tell you, I can almost guarantee you that this young lady cannot name a single trans athlete in her state without Googling the shit. Right? That's how I know misinformation and disinformation works. Those campaign ads that Donald Trump was sending out, talking about some Kamala's for they, them, and not you, I'm for you and everything else. That shit worked on a whole bunch of people who thought that trans people were taking over girl sports. Like, hey, we got to save girl sports. From who? From who? Even in the Olympics, the woman that they was accusing of being a man has been a woman her entire life and comes from a country where the LGBTQ community is shunned. They would never allow someone like her or like a trans or a trans person to be on their Olympic team and represent them as a nation. But that did not stop these people from telling you that she was trans and she beat up this woman in a boxing match. And too many of y'all fell for that shit. She fell for that shit. Because now she's talking about, hey, it's too many dick swinging in the women's locker room. Nigga, where? Just last week, not even last week, a couple days ago, last time I did a show, was talking about how many trans athletes there were in the state of Michigan at the high school level. It was a grand total of fucking 2. 2 trans athletes in the entire fucking state at the high school level. But not even that, right? They allow a lot of people's fear, and they did this before when it came to the whole bathroom debate. Y'all forgot. They hit that whole thing about bathrooms. It done went from the bathrooms to the sports teams. We got to protect our girls from these men who trying to be girls, and like they want to sexually assault our girls in these locker rooms and in the bathrooms. They don't have any evidence of it happening. They don't have any proof of it happening. But there's a small group of folk who identify as trans, and they've been able to demonize those folks. And she bought into it, saying Democrats lost the plot. No, Democrats didn't lose the plot. Republicans made some shit up. And now you scared about some shit you ain't never got to fucking worry about for real. For real. You ain't never got to worry about that shit.
identified as a man yesterday and identify as a woman today are whooping women's asses in sports.
Where is it happening? Where is it happening? For anybody who's watching me, send me the shit. Send me the shit where like, yo, there's a trans athlete just mopping the floor with women on the court, in the boxing ring, in the wrestling ring, in the swimming pool, on the volleyball court, tennis court, wherever the fuck they at. Send it to me, bro. Shut me the fuck up on this. Because they got y'all out here out wild on some shit that is not fucking happening, bro. And you think that it's the Democrats who lost the plot. Meanwhile, Republicans are just out here making shit up. Making it up, bro.
Women having to encounter penises and testosterone in situations that were once sacred to them. Add that to the fact that y'all originally showed up with the same candidate who we watched falling all over himself in the street, slurring his words and losing his train of thought mid-fucking press conference. And y'all still picked him, although y'all had Kamala as vice president at the time, which means even y'all knew she wasn't going this. But y'all threw her in the game fourth quarter anyway. Then you got the everyday Democrat thinking they could bully people into voting their way, which is actually turning people off and running people out of the party. mind you, election happened while everybody's hungry and broke. Rent was just due. Mortgages was just due. It's after the first, and we've been under this leadership for 4 years, so it feels like this because of them.
Bro, like I said, when you think about what the fuck we came from when Donald Trump was president the first time, this is how I know niggas have very fucking short memories. Very short memories. Even when it comes to those stimmies, some of those stimulus checks that went out. The very first one, Donald Trump held them bitches up because he wanted to put his name on them and didn't want to give them to you in the first fucking place. Even the people that give credit to Donald Trump for funding HBCUs forget that Donald Trump presented a budget to the United States Congress that totally zeroed out funding for HBCUs in its entirety, and then took credit for it when Congresswoman Alma Adams reinstated that shit into the federal budget. And then there's that photo op that Donald Trump took with all of the HBCU presidents in the Oval Office. People have very fucking short memories. The reason why prices are high is because we're coming out of a global pandemic, one that comes every 100 years. It's not even a generational thing. It's a once in a lifetime, like hopefully it doesn't happen in your lifetime type of thing that happened. And he was the leader of the nation when it happened. And even when he was the leader of the nation when it happened, he downplayed it because he thought it would hurt him politically. Didn't want us testing anymore because shit, we don't want them to test no more. What the fuck we want them to test for? Shit, because if you tell them, now we got more numbers and we don't want no more numbers. Started undercutting his experts on it. So now everybody feels like they're an expert in shit that they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Suddenly everybody's, virologists and microbiologists and shit like that. And meanwhile, I know some of these niggas failed science and failed civics and everything else. Suddenly they forgot all of the vaccines that they did get when they was going to school and shit. Suddenly everybody's against vaccines now. Some of the shit that we eradicated, diseases that we eradicated are coming back. Now we having shit like the mumps coming back and people getting the measles again. Like, nigga, we had been done away with that shit. Now, nah, man, I don't want to vaccinate my kids. Why? Like, I don't know, to keep shit from like happening again and, keep these maladies from like popping up again. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're speaking from a place of privilege because of the vaccines that came before. Suddenly we're all against it now. Make that make sense. Misinformation and disinformation works, man. It works.
Then the Republicans keep stopping us. We can't get anything done because Republicans keep stopping us. So what's the point of voting for you if you can't get nothing done? Y'all gave Donald Trump.
Okay. Okay. So here's the other one. What's the point of voting for you if you can't get anything done? Listen, if you do not vote, just you vote for president, but then you also vote for a House of Representatives and a Senate, right? So here's what's about to happen. And here's what's about to happen. Donald Trump has control of the White House. He's about to have control of the Senate. So we already know that justices are about, not even just the Supreme Court justices, but federal court justices all across the nation are about to, those spots are going to be filled. And then also, what is looking like they're going to actually have control of the House too. So he's going to have a trifecta on everything he wants. So everything he wants to do is going to get rubber stamped. And then you would come to a Democrat and say, hey, why did y'all get shit done? Meanwhile, you didn't vote for them to have a legislature that is going to support what the agenda is. This shit is not rocket science. It is not hard to figure out. It is not. It is fucking not. But it's this level of stupidity. And that's what I'm going to call this shit. It is this level of stupidity that goes out into social media. People co-sign this shit because they do not know how shit works. And everything seems like a conspiracy to you when you don't understand how shit works. And there has been a concerted effort over many years to dumb down the populace of the United States of America. A concerted effort. I can't tell you how many people can't name the 3 branches of their government. I can't tell you how many people don't recognize what is a federal law and what is a state law and who they need to talk to when that law comes up against them and they want to get some shit done or undo some shit. They in the wrong places because they don't know how the shit works. And then they get on shit like TikTok and then they spread this shit. And now that stupid shit goes out into the ether. And guess what? Hey, I saw on TikTok that, this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, kid, but that's not how that goes. Shout out to my brother, my man, Six Figure Dilla over on TikTok. He does Chicago historical stuff on TikTok. He's educating the folk. Shout out to those of you who are also educating the folk in a very real way on TikTok and using that platform in a very real way to try to educate those folks in these bite-sized, informationals. It's unfortunate, though, that these sorts of messages get spread. And then when I come across it, I'm looking at people who are spreading it like, yo, these is facts right here. Facts. Like, ain't shit factual about this other than the fact that she said that America is more sexist than it is racist. And the only reason why I agree with that is because even amongst all the races, niggas is sexist. Right? That's the only reason I agree with that. The only reason. Outside of that, she on some bullshit.
Trump, a freaking Supreme Court seat. When y'all let Ruth Bader Ginsburg die at damn near 100 years old in the freaking Supreme Court, it's very, very clear the Democratic Party has just been raw dogging it through life for a minute. Mind you, I voted Democrat for 16 years straight since Barack Obama's first presidency, but I knew how this was gonna go. And she ain't just lose, she got her ass whooped. I'm talking about when I went and looked at the states, how the states were voting that were remaining, he was going to get over 300 electors. Like, she was getting her ass whooped. It wasn't even a close race. And as much as y'all talk shit about Donald Trump, we talking about a marketing genius.
He is not a marketing genius, bro. I'm sorry. He's not a marketing genius. He is a liar genius. The fact that y'all allow this motherfucker to play in y'all face is crazy to me. Like, you think this nigga is a genius. He just lies constantly. Here's the thing. So many people just simply do not believe that he's going to do some of the shit that he says he's going to do. For y'all, for those of you who do not believe that he's going to do the things that he said he's going to do, I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear a motherfucking thing from any of y'all who allow for this to happen. Not shit. Because niggas tried to tell you. But when people try to inform you of these things, oftentimes you're offended because you feel as though these people are trying to sun you. Right? That's the other thing too, man. Too many people are too prideful to they are too prideful to understand when they have something wrong to just admit it, that I didn't know, I was wrong, and then they double down on the wrongness. To spite. They do it out of spite. And there's a lot of people dealing with that. There's a lot of people who are walking around who feel like they should know some things. And when they find out that they don't know some things and someone calls them out on the fact that they're not knowledgeable, they're not as knowledgeable on the things that they think they should be, not that they think they're knowledgeable about, rather than acknowledge, hey man, I might have got that wrong. They do this shit. They do this shit. I seen it coming. And it's problematic, bro. It's problematic as hell.
Like, if you watch documentaries about this guy or watch like or research him, the way he came up, the guy's a marketing genius. Like, from putting...
Ma'am, the way he came up was a $400 million loan from his daddy. Come on, man. He came up that way. Like, people who know Donald Trump, he came up not paying contractors for building his buildings. He came up that way. He came up by filing bankruptcy 6 fucking times. He came up that way. He came up by putting out full page ads against the Central Park Five, a crime that they were exonerated of. And even after they were exonerated, he refused to apologize. As a matter of fact, he doubled down on the shit. And you're calling this motherfucker a marketing genius. What the fuck is wrong with you? People know who the fuck Donald Trump is. Ain't nothing genius about it. Only thing this, the only thing, like, yo, it's like niggas falling for this is the most frustrating thing. That's the most frustrating thing. I'm gonna go ahead and let this play out, man. She only got about 30 seconds.
His last name on everything, to marketing himself as a billionaire even before he was a billionaire. Dude been on a political campaign literally, it seemed like, for 40, 50 years. Your party was unprepared, does not understand what the average American's issues are and concerns are, and didn't have a candidate that stood a chance in hell. So it is what it is. And don't try to say it was a specific group that voted for him. No. Every group voted for him, because the way the numbers turned out, there's no way he swept like that without the support of everyone. Every demographic. Y'all went too far left. Too far. Pump your brakes.
Yeah, fuck her. Fuck her. Because it's clear that she doesn't really know what she's talking about. And hopefully for her, shit doesn't get real. Right? When you think about this is the type of attitude of the people who, I don't know if she voted for Trump or not. She didn't necessarily say. She said she voted Democrat, since Obama or whatever, but who the fuck knows? Right? But when you say certain shit like that, that lets me know that you're not as educated on this topic as you really think you are. Right? So we got that going on. We got a couple comments here in the chat room. My man Phenom, man, what's going on, brothers? Long time no see, man. He said there's nothing Kamala could have done to win, given just being a woman. That's it. She can critique the campaign and all this other BS, but Trump ran an idiotic, unintelligent campaign and won. That's the shit that's tripping me out, bro. That is ultimately the shit that is tripping me out. Like, we saw Donald Trump actually perform or pantomime fellatio on a goddamn microphone. Like, that's the other part about this entire thing. Like, the bad behavior of Donald Trump is somehow just like washed away. Everybody's acting as though, oh, that's just Donald being Donald. No, motherfucker, nobody else in the history of politics has ever been able to get away with that sort of shit. Nobody. Kamala Harris had to be out here on the perfect. And even the people who were talking about, like, yeah, y'all was trying to bully us into voting for her because she a black woman and everything else. Even Kamala Harris was out here not even really highlighting the fact that she was black and Indian. Everybody else was making that an issue, not her. That wasn't what she was doing. So, like, to listen to people talk about bullying, like, hey, man, again, I live in Michigan. It's, a blue state. We got a relatively good governor here. I work I have a union position at my job. I hope that some of y'all who are not in those positions, who voted in this way, or who are in states that don't have some of the protections that we have here in Michigan, I pray for y'all. For some of y'all, not all of y'all. For those of you who voted for this shit, fuck y'all. But for everybody else, man, I pray for y'all. For you, especially for the women in these states that are that have already had their bodily autonomy taken away from them, but also when it comes to gerrymandering, when it comes to education. Like, Donald Trump has talked about, Donald Trump, not even just Donald Trump, but Project 2025 has talked about eliminating the Department of Education. And one of the ways they were talking about eliminating the Department of Education was Donald Trump promised if a school was teaching Black history, or what they're calling Black history CRT now. They're giving our shit a different name, right? But if they're teaching Black history, then that public school they won't be getting the funding from the federal government that they should be getting, because they're teaching the actual fucking history of this nation. I pray for y'all, man. Let's see. Phenom also said, I'm hard pressed to believe with this video she released that she even voted. And he's like, no, she absolutely voted for him. I think she voted for him too, man. I really do. It's unfortunate, but yeah. Even like the other part that I think has been disheartening too is when you see some of the exit polling, when they talking about 45% of Latino and Hispanic men voted for Donald Trump, and you notice and you see how Donald Trump has talked about the Hispanic community, how he's talked about America being the garbage can for the world, and everybody's sending their worst people here, and largely like listening to how some of them are trying to, well, he ain't talking about me, right? It's almost in it's like one of those things where like you think they're not talking about you. You think they're not talking about you, but your ass is included. It's that's been one of the things that's like really, to watch minority groups like the Latino and Hispanic community, and like the Arab and Muslim community here in Michigan, flip in the way that they flip, like for someone who has openly antagonized those communities on the national stage repeatedly, and for those very same people to act as though like somehow it's going to be different this time. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how y'all get to that conclusion. I really don't, man. Game says, said America loves that lowbrow dude, bro behavior. His only superpower is being white. And low key, that is what a lot of this boils down to. That's what a lot of this boils down to, man. Like, we saw the census numbers and everything else where, America is going to be majority minority probably in another 20 years. White folks are not going to be the majority of this country. However, they made inroads with the Latino community where, and not only that, but when you think about, how they talked about the Latino community, but also understanding that the Latino and Hispanic community isn't a monolith, in much the same way that black folks aren't a monolith. You got people that, the ADOS niggas who are really just conservative ops, man. Like, I really feel like, a lot of these ADOS niggas who are trying to drive a wedge between black folks and black immigrants who come from, from the continent, or who come from the islands or whatever, trying to drive a wedge between us. Like, I feel like that was a conservative op, man. And it's always been a conservative op. And when you find out it's niggas like Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson that's all in that bullshit, like, come on, bro, why are we listening to these niggas, right? But when I think about how certain Latin communities kind of buy into having a proximity to whiteness, right? I think about the Cuban community. I think about some of the people of the Dominican Republic who go out of their way to tell you that they not black. I know black. I'm Dominican, right? Go out of their way to tell you that they don't have any affiliation or connection to the black community. Like, I think about that. Like, so when you look at Florida, when they have all of these people from all of these Latin communities voting the way that they do down in Florida, it's like, yo, because there's a proximity to whiteness that they're trying to attain. And some of them can really just assimilate right on into whiteness. And that assimilation into whiteness is a drug for a lot of them. In much the same way that it was a drug for the Italians, in much the same way it was a drug for the Irish, man. Where they assimilated into whiteness, and now because they have assimilated into whiteness, despite all of the shit that had happened before when they were being treated like shit because they were different, now because they are being pulled into whiteness, they can look at these other folk and say, no, we don't want to do things that way. Like, they're not talking about me, they're talking about you. They're talking about you. It's the same thing, man. And those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. And we're watching this happen in real time. It's happening in real time, and it's frustrating, bro. It's oh my God. Horatio is in the chat room. He says, Spann, say it with me. Humans are stupid. That indeed, brother. That indeed. I will take a drink to that. Hold on a second. I would drink to that. Phenom says a marketing genius. Kai Cenat is a marketing genius. Kendrick Lamar is a marketing genius. That kid who plays with toys on YouTube and has his own show now is a marketing genius. She's wilding. Yeah, she was wilding from the very jump, bro. She was wilding from the very jump. But these are the messages that are going out now, right? So but also because that was a sister. That was a sister who got up who got up on TikTok and said this shit, right? So when I say that when black people are talking about, hey man, like when they're expressing their frustration with people within the community doing this sort of shit, don't tell these people, well, you know, black men voted over out of all of the fucking people that voted for Kamala Harris. Black men were right there with black women. Y'all were 13. We were 13 points behind. But also, even the sisters who would come out here and say some shit like that. Hey, we don't have to be in league with these people, man. We do not have to cover for these folks, and stop doing that shit. Stop telling people how to feel about the people who are trying to put their own fucking existence at risk. I'm tired of that. And I've seen this on social media quite a bit, especially on threads, man, especially from like, you know, black men defending themselves against the, you know, the accusation that, you know, black men were going to be one of the reasons why Donald Trump won. And then you see that, hey man, 77% of black men voted for Kamala Harris, but that means 23% of y'all didn't. So when we talk about the 23% of people who didn't, don't stand there and take the bullets and for the 23% of the niggas who didn't, because they don't give a fuck about you either. Stop covering for them. That's the shit that gets on my nerves, man. Phenom said it's a classist thing. Those people don't see themselves as the bad immigrants. They never do, man. They never do. Like, and that's what I'm getting at. They not talking about me. The attitude of they not talking about me. Like that's the part that's really that's the part that really gets me, man. Is that like there's so many people who voted for this bullshit, but also at the same time don't understand that some of the shit that's coming their community's way. You might think he wasn't talking about you, but they was talking about your ass too. So I guess, like, you know, the question I would ask anybody now is, what do we do going forward, right? Like, what are the next steps? What do we as a community do to rebuild, to reach out? I know one of the things I was on one last night. Like I said, man, I drunk a lot last night. I did. Cause I was just trying to make sense of the whole shit. And one of the things I think crystallized for me is that one of the things that crystallized for me is that now more than ever, we need to be on an offensive as far as getting out real information. I know that's difficult because there's a fire hose of misinformation and disinformation that floods our social media feeds. But for those of us who do care about our communities, who do care what happens to the people in our lives, who do care what happens to other marginalized groups, despite the fact that some of these other marginalized groups are not necessarily voting in their own interest. We have to be vigilant about our advocacy for what's right. That's what we have to do. It is not going to be easy. It never really is. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it, right? But for those of us, like for those of us who do get on these microphones and we express our opinions and we try to inform the people who are listening to us and things like that, man, it's important now more than ever to inform the people what's happening, to inform them of what's really happening, sift through the bullshit and point out why that's bullshit. And I know a lot of folks are like, hey, Spann, ain't that what you've been doing? Don't seem to be working, bro. And you could be right. You could be right. But I think that I couldn't live with myself if I didn't speak out on the things that I think are wrong. And, I don't think I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. Like, if it's wrong, it's wrong. And somebody's got to say something. And even going into, another Trump presidency where, hell, your man Spann might be on the goddamn watch list or some shit after a point. But I would much rather go on the watch list standing up for what was right than to just allow the shit that is happening to just happen and nobody says nothing. Right? So, yeah, man. I'm glad y'all were here. I'm like, for the folks who were in the chat room and everything else, and for the folks who are watching, man, I'm glad y'all were here. As I was like watching news coverage and stuff like that, as I was watching those results come in last night, as I was loading my guns up and shit last night, I was on one last night. I'm telling y'all, bro, it was crazy. But no, real talk. This is our charge going forward, man. Like, hey, especially for me as a podcaster, hey, when I see some shit that's wrong, let me inform my folks on why this is wrong. And let me, lend my voice to where it's needed. And let me support the people who support what's right. And hopefully going forward, man, we can make this a very short 4 years for this orange fucking blow up doll, piece of shit ass, fuck ass, trick ass, felonious ass, insurrectionist ass piece of shit that America has made president again. But yeah, man, I done ran my mouth enough. I gotta get ready to get myself together for work tomorrow. But of course, before we get out of here, gotta let you guys know how to get in touch with your man Spann over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voices be heard. Go ahead and hit that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. This area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those voicemail messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email me here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave those emails, and of course, those emails will get read here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, go to our store, man. our store has stuff in it. Our store has stuff in it, man. You can go ahead and get yourself a t-shirt or a coffee mug, man, or a hoodie or whatnot, man. We do have some stuff over there. We got some really good designs, and we really appreciate everybody who helps us monetarily in that way, man, because this shit ain't free, bro. So, like, when you guys contribute in that way, we really do appreciate it. Also, our Spann Report Podcast Network, YouTube channel, man. Go to the Spann Report TV. Go to the Spann Report Network on YouTube, man, and subscribe to the channel. Like the videos over there. Comment over there. We really appreciate everybody who does that. But before we get out of here, I am gonna play Martin. Fuck it, I'm gonna play Martin because Martin need to be heard. God damn it. So let me go ahead and pull Martin up as we get on up out of here, man, because I think what he says here is pertinent. So I'm gonna do this here and let's see.
I have a dream. I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go, and that we are involved in a war on Asian soil, which, if not checked and stopped, can poison the very soul of our nation.
All right, man. I will talk to you guys again soon. But, of course, until next time, fam. Peace.